Alright, so Claire Holt played Rebecca in The Vampire Diaries and on the spin-off series The Originals, and I'm going to look at her and see if she's female or a male-to-female transgender. Now, I talk about energy in the eyes a lot, and if this was a male looking directly at us, at the camera, this would feel much more piercing. To me, this feels kind of, there's just kind of a flat feel to it, indicating to me that this is a female, because the energy is definitely not male. Aside from the energy, we have a fairly strong facial structure. Small nose, doesn't look like it's had work done to it. Small mouth in terms of the dental arch. Full lips that look about equal size, those are typical for a female. The eyes are quite close together, fairly small, also typical for a female. It looks like we've got slight brow bones. That's also very typical for a female who looks like she's of this kind of genetic origin. I would say this person definitely has Scandinavian ancestry. And she's from Australia, so a lot of Australians do have ancestry from somewhere in Scandinavia, as well as obviously the British ancestry. It's a negligible development in the trachea. A lot of women have something like that. Often thinner women will also have more of a visible trachea. She's obviously slim as an actress. And, the neck overall seems quite like a small neck, not large. And this energy is just so clearly female energy. I can't mistake that for male energy. And when she was a few years younger, in this shot, she had kind of more fat in the face, kind of youthful teenager look. The spacing between all the features is very, very female. The shape of the forehead, pretty much rounded, vertical. Again, there is that slight brow ridge, but that really isn't strange for women with Scandinavian or German ancestry. And I see that on a lot of Caucasian women, so it's really not suspicious. There's the strong bone structure, yes, but it doesn't look really sharp. On a male with strong bone structure, you'd expect to see some gauntness somewhere when it's a thin person, which this person is, but you don't see that on her. Small ear, small neck. Again, the female energy, a very short female energy. There's a pointed chin, oval-shaped face. Yes, the bone structure is strong, but it's an overall female-shaped face. Again, with the small neck, the part that's strictly the neck is short, and you have a slope to the shoulders. You don't see anything strange in the trachea here. In the collarbones, you don't really see much. Means it doesn't have a defined male bone structure. As for the width of the shoulders, you couldn't fit 3 of the skull on the shoulders, which means they're not male width shoulders. Again, the female energy, it's just very clear in every shot this is a girl. There's softness all around, the shape of the knees and the shape of the legs, the thighs and the calves. Very female. Looks very female to me. The hands as well, they're not large. They do have kind of delicate tapered looking fingers, small wrists, no excessive boniness around here. You've got female curve on the arms as well as the legs. Yeah, that you don't see anything strange in the trachea here either. No strange jutting collarbones and stuff. Now, when she got a little bit older, there is something a little strange looking about the face, and personally, I think this may be because of Botox injections. Because you see that look, you'll see people having this kind of natural face, and then something just starts looking off. And so, since she's in the acting profession, I really wouldn't be surprised if she'd gotten some injections to attempt to delay stall aging. So, still the energy is the same. It's just something looks a little off, a little plastic about the face. But I really would chalk that up to some kind of procedure. And, biological women do get procedures too, especially in a competitive industry like the acting industry. Again, delicate bone structure. The smaller shoulders, not male-sized. Arms actually look quite short, the forearms here, and, again, the delicate wrists. Small hands, curved to the cheeks, mouth isn't over large, nose is small, eyes are quite small, forehead's rounded. Again, there's slope to the shoulders, obviously doing a pose here. We've got the waist indentation at a high point right here, and there's curve to the hips. Now, they're not extremely, extremely curvy hips, but they do have a proper female curve, and you can tell that the bone structure well, thankfully, both the hips and the shoulders are kind of angled here, so you can just kind of go down from where the, I'll do it on this side, where the shoulder bone is, in here, the joint, and then take it down at an angle, and you'll reach again about the same level on this sideways slant. You'll reach it where about the thigh bone connects to the pelvis. So the dimensions are essentially female there. Again, something just a little bit strange looking about the face. Probably a cosmetic procedure, or it could just be lots and lots of makeup, because that is a lot of makeup. But the actual bone structure of this person is not suspicious, and there's female softness to this face. Yeah, there's some strength to the bones, but there are a lot of females who have strong bone structures too. Okay, again, looking at the fine details, this kind of fat here on a slim person, and around the armpit here, this is a very female look that the MDFs don't seem to have. They seem to have this very kind of chiseled, tight look around everywhere, pretty much. But real females often have more of a kind of, the word pudgy has a bad connotation. I just can't think of another word, but well, any word that regards having any kind of body fat has a bad connotation these days. But slim females will still have that kind of softness, So again, no jutting bones anywhere. The strong facial structure, no makeup on here, so, people are going to say, oh, it looks like a man in this shot, but that's because it doesn't have everyone has been programmed. These days in the modern society, we see makeup and we think it looks female. When someone sees a face without makeup, they're more inclined to say, oh, you can really see the man come out in that shot. But actually look at the bone structure. There isn't anything gaunt about it. There's the strength to the cheekbones, there's some strength to the jaw, the chin is pointed, but the spacing between the features, the size of the features, it looks very female. Small ears too. So this is what a female face looks like, squinting in the sunlight, with no makeup on. It's not male. This is at an angle, so we can't get a good sense of the Q angle here, really. But you can tell there's curve to the hips here, and we'll see more of the Q angle later. Okay, another shot where we have fundamentally female energy in the eyes, and the face shape looks extremely female. Now here, we've definitely got a female spinal arch. It starts up high, where we've got her waist indentation, which is above her navel. Then we've got pelvic tilt, backward, which is supposed to be the case on females. And you can see it comes in from a high point, starts there, and goes down as well. So, and if you want to again look at the details, there is a little bit of curve here to the front of the thigh, which is very typical on female legs. This is just the shape of some underlying muscle over top of the hip bone, but an Adonis belt would actually be deeper and you'd see it more. So yeah, that's a female looking body. Again, the face is looking very female there. They're not at quite the same angle, but you can still really make out the shape of the back here. This one has a clear curve in the middle of the back, but this one comes straight all the way down until right where we've got this flat male posterior. Interesting comparison side by side. I think the shoulders are appearing a little more square because, first of all, of the choice of wardrobe. This kind of halter top usually makes the shoulders appear a little wider, just as a perception-based thing. And also she's kind of holding the shoulders up and hunching them because of what she's carrying. And actually I see FDMs do that trick to try and increase the size of their shoulders, so this is a little deceptive because we don't see her natural shoulder slope and we don't see the width of them looking quite right. But still, let's take a look at it from that point and see, first of all, that the arms angle out from the shoulder, which is very typical of female skeleton, because the arms have to make space for wider hips, so they're not constantly colliding with them. And then also very important is we do have a female Q angle here. There's a curve from the pelvis down to the knee, and that is what female skeletons are supposed to do. It does look like she's got pretty small joints, small knees, small wrists, small elbows, delicate looking person, small ankles. Arm length, if you take across from there, it's definitely a female arm length. You can see that the kind of widest point of the hips here is just below the crotch, which is also something that female hips are supposed to do. And if you take it up and look at where the actual bone in the joint is there, I would say that's about equal. So that is a female dimension. Actually, there are some females who have shoulders slightly wider than the hips. It's not extreme. It's not extreme to the extent of a male body ratio, obviously. But there are some women who have that, and usually those women are from Scandinavia, from Germany. Actually, within the Caucasian race, I should say. So if you see someone who's got the look suggesting their ancestry is from Northern Europe, because blue eyes and blonde hair originate from that region, then, you can kind of think about, do they have a body type that's kind of typical from that region as well. Here it's a little easier to tell where the bone in the joint is there, the bone in that joint there. Same on this side, looks like a female. She doesn't have a hugely defined hourglass figure, but again, not every female does. And yeah, you can see that the shoulders are more sloped here. The fingers look dainty and female. Again, the arm length looks female. Joints look female. Q angle is female. Again, with the female energy, it doesn't look like she's really got any makeup on here either. And that face just looks very female to me. Maybe some people who are used to seeing females only with makeup on will say, oh, it looks like a boy here, but it really, really doesn't. Got female energy in the eyes and just a female kind of glow to the face. Softness on all of the limbs here. The knees look very female. The curve of the legs, the gradual curve here looks female. The sides of the feet looks female. Everything here, the fine details, all look female. Definitely a girl. High point of the waist. And here, there's different styling, different makeup styles that make the face look kind of harsher, not as friendly and open. But they do this intentionally these days. They like to paint up the female actresses to look a little bit more like the MTFs and to push along the androgynous agenda. So if you see something like this, you still have to pay attention to the actual energy in the eyes and the facial features, the dimensions. And they still look female. The energy still looks female. It's just that the makeup's done differently. The eyebrows are drawn in darker, and there may have already been some kind of cosmetic work done. So, but again, the neck is delicate. There's that female slope. It's not built up muscle. You can tell because there's softness all around here. There's nothing being held tightly as it would if there was just muscle built up. It's the slope resultant of the skeletal structure of the shoulders, which is typical on females. Again, the female energy, the female softness in the face, essential dimensions looking female, lack of defined bone structure, and once again to the future with probably some cosmetic procedures done to the face. The important thing is, do the hips still match up to the shoulders? And on this person, we can see that they do. Again, with the crotch rule here. And you can tell there's curve to the leg. You can tell there's proper gradual curves everywhere. Delicate size of the joints and everything. Same here, gradual curves. Natural sized female feet, hands. The curve of the thighs is very natural for a girl. Same things here, Female softness. Push legs like this, you're going to see a bit of a line from muscle. That's not abnormal. If you didn't see that on females, it would mean they had absolutely no muscle on the legs and were incapable of walking. So the slight appearance of muscle on females does not make them male, because females need muscles to be able to move too. So that's not abnormal, in case anyone was thinking it was. One thing though is males do typically have bonier knees, because males have less subcutaneous body fat. So on a female, it'll look more like this, and on males you'll usually see a bit more bony jutting. Now here, the shape of this dress changes the appearance of her body. This also looks like a very photoshopped picture, but again, you can see there's softness all around this person, nothing jutting, nothing suspicious, and the face, though it's got a strong structure, is also very soft, and it looks very feminine. Photoshopped picture, but you can tell there's curve to this body on both sides, which you don't see on the MTFs. They'll be kind of straight on one side and curved on the other. Now, this to me is interesting because if you look between both pairs of eyes here, it should give you a really good idea of the feeling of energy between males and females. Because Joseph Morgan has very, very piercing male energy, and she has very, very soft female energy. So you look between them, it's such a clear difference. Also, just the essential difference between the hands. His appear to be a little bit bigger. You can see tendons and veins. Hers just appear softer, kind of more delicate. And here you can see that her waist comes in, and then there's a curve outward. Looks correct for a female. And also you can tell that the actual joint of the elbow seems to come in just slightly below where the waist is, which is very typical of a female also. There's going to be some slight variations on measurements on different people regarding arm length, but her arm length is female length, and her waist height is female length as well. Again, another shot where she hasn't got makeup on, and that really looks like a girl. Softness to the face, the female dimensions. The skin quality looks female too. Length of the arms, size of the hands. Again, energy in the eyes. A lot of people will mistake blue eyes for being piercing, but they're not. Ignore the colour and look at the energy in the eyes. And this is not a piercing energy. It just does have a kind of understated, quiet energy. A female glow. Again, small brow bones. Not unusual for a female from her genetic background. Same with the cheekbones, the jawline, and you got the small features, the full lips on a small mouth, the small nose, the small neck. And they do make up the actual female actresses to look female actresses. Redundant? No, actually not redundant because of this agenda. I will stand by female actresses because we could say male actresses for the MTFs. Alright. But yeah, they will paint up the female actresses to look more kind of masculine, and they do that intentionally. It's part of the androgynous agenda. They'll paint up whatever tools they have in their shed to fit what they want us to be considering normal and finding attractive. So they're going to do that with the MTFs and the real ones, and what that does is it blurs people's perceptions of what gender is which to begin with. To be seeing both types and think that all of these looks are normal for a gender, it really confuses people. And then when they use both of them to make them a little more masculine, that confuses people too. So essentially they're just spreading complete confusion and warping attractions and perceptions through that method. So when they do this kind of dark, heavy eyebrows, it's not a very traditionally female makeup style that they've done here, and the hairstyle and everything. They're intentionally trying to present people in a more male manner, and they do this with their female actresses too. But again, female curve to the legs. It's not really bony at the knees. Female dimensions here. Softness on the hands. Softness in the face. They try and make it look more male, but it's still, if you look past what they've done with paint and wardrobe and everything, it still looks female. And you can actually tell there's a lot of curve to the legs because of the shape here. There's a lot of curve to the hips and pelvis because of the way it looks when she sits down. Again, female softness all around, kind of female look to the knees here. You can also make out the spinal curve here because of the shape here and how it comes in and curves up. Again, obviously another edited photo, but you can really make out the female spinal arch here. Males do not have this spinal arch. Males can have sway backs, but it looks very different, and you can tell they've got bad posture. But female spinal arches, you can't mistake it when you see it. And she's definitely got it. You can also tell from the shape of the stomach in front, female curve going on, female tilt to the pelvis. Again, there's strength to the facial structure, but it's soft. It's not hard, it's not chiseled, it's not gaunt like you'd see on a thin male with a similar structure. You'd see more spacing on a male with a similar structure. You'd see more jutting, you'd see more gauntness. And you'd definitely see more in the neck, too. Okay, so here, put it with Nina Dobrev. They both look female to me. People from different nationalities, from different genetic heritage, have slightly different sizes of skulls. And usually people from Scandinavian countries have larger skulls, too. So compared to people from, like, South Europe, like, her ancestry is all from Bulgaria, right? So a lot of people from this kind of region will have really robust. She has a slightly larger skull probably as a result of genetic heritage, and then she's also a taller person. Taller people are supposed to have larger skulls. So this actually looks very much like two females with female-sized skulls. Nothing strange looking here. Again, that essential female face shape with the pointed chin, and the softness to the cheeks, the gentle look in the eyes. No, probably someone's gonna leap on this too, but females can have a slight little lump like that when they're turning their head to the side, because females have a trachea, and if they didn't, they couldn't breathe. So women need muscles to move, and they need tracheas to breathe. So if you see a little bit of one, it's not the end of the world. There would be way more if it was an MTF. You typically see a lot more on MTFs. Again, that softness all around. Again, they've done that androgynous makeup look. They've tried to make up her face to look more edgy and male, kind of. But check out the spinal arch here. She's also tilting the whole body forward, so the spinal arch will appear a little different. But if she would move her stomach and everything back further, you would see the spinal arch coming out here, as her skeleton calls for. So you have to take poses into account too when you look at people. Female leg shape looking correct. Size of the feet not looking strange. I feel like I'm just saying the same things over and over with the face. I'm sure you can pick them out by this point. face and the collarbones, the shoulders. Delicate collarbones, sloping shoulders. You can see here, high female waist indentation point, there's curves. This costume doesn't flatter the curves, but they're there. Small hands, compare the look of these hands to these hands and those hands. Those guys have man hands. She doesn't. These guys both have stronger, more gaunt, kind of jutting facial structures than she does. She's got that softness to it, and they don't. So, people with similar facial structures, the males are going to look, the males will look more extreme than the females, and you can see that here. Okay, now you can see all this excess bunching right here. That's because that's right where the waist is. So actually, we would be seeing a little bit more of a dip right here, where this excess bunching is, because all the fabric's gone up into it, into the dip in the back. So you can see here that she's got this female arch to the back that comes in and out at the correct height. A high height just above the elbow. It's normal for a female. This one seems to be an MTF. It's got this straight look to the shoulder blades, and then the back is straight right until you've just got the posterior. Unlike her, who she's actually got the curve, and the shoulder blades, it looks kind of more curved behind there as well. Seems like this one's neck is slightly smaller than this one too. One thing I've pointed out before is that when looking at people from the side, often male elbows will stick out more, be kind of more pointed, because female elbows will kind of be in female arms hang at a slightly different angle because of the shape of our hips. So when I look at this and I see that she's got that smooth shape along the edge, indicating that her elbow is angled, and she's got a point right there, that kind of that illustrates my point. These people probably don't have quite the same genetic heritage, but it's still, interesting to me to just look at some slight differences between what seems to be an MTF and what seems to be a real female. Highly photoshopped promotional picture, right? But you can tell that there is the female arch to the back there. If you ignore the volume of her hair and look at just the size of the skull right here, it's a little bit smaller than his, and that's very normal for a male to have a larger skull than a female. He's got more of a slope to the brow, whereas hers is more vertical. He's got more of a pronounced brow ridge to her smaller brow ridge, kind of smooth descent to the arm, and then there's a bit more of a jut here, where his is the pointed elbow thing. You can see his back is totally straight down. Hers comes in at the high point, again, above her elbow, and then continues out. Bit of a loose dress, but it is following the line of the body, the female spinal arch. His arms are also longer than hers. His torso is longer. You can see that her posterior is kind of higher, and his is lower. So that's kind of proportions and sizes of a male and female from sort of similar genetic background, I'd imagine. Okay, and again, you can see the female Q angle. She's gasping in air, so her ribcage is really expanded right now, but she does have that female shape. She does have the female in at the waist, out of the hips, back in at the knee. She's got the shape, it's correct. Shape of the lower legs is correct too. Again, the ratio of the shoulders compared to the hips, they're equal. You can check it out, they're equal. And here again, high point where the spinal arch begins. It comes in high, goes out. Very natural looking female person. And this was a photo she posted of when she was in hospital. She had a miscarriage and had to have a D&C. I'm sure some people on here will doubt the story, but honestly, that's not a real smile. She doesn't look happy. Her eyes look very kind of unhappy and dead and hollow. And she sent this photo to her fiancé when she was in the hospital. And to me it looks like she's just trying to reassure her partner. She doesn't really feel fine, which is to be expected. Okay, so this looks like when she was pregnant, and it does look like there's some extra fat retained in the face. Again, with the Q angle on females, it begins at a low point, and here it does look like the widest point of her hips is about here, and you can see the proper curve of the outside of the leg, the thigh. On both sides, she's got a proper female Q angle. And again, look for the shoulder joints. You can find that where they are up here comes down equal to where we've got the widest point in the hips and pelvis down there. Now she's not pulling a very extreme pose here, just a little bit, stretching the arms, but you can tell that the spinal arch in her begins high up and there's actually a proper curve here, whereas in the other person you can tell that the body comes down very straight. Again, no jutting bones. Shoulders really don't look too wide. Women will have more kind of fatty tissue around this area than men will. Very kind of soft energy. Even with a strong facial structure, there is more softness in the face than you typically find on a male with this kind of facial structure. You can tell there's fat retained around here, under the jaw and the chin. At a younger age, she looked a little slighter, which is typical for teenage girls, but you can also make out the spinal arch here as well. It looks like this girl is actually arching her back, but she's also got a spinal arch naturally. So this is a more extreme look to a spinal arch that you'll get when you make an effort to actually arch it. This looks like just a typical sort of girl not doing any kind of special pose. This is the resting position of the female spine. And in the middle we have a totally straight back. So this is just two females and then a male skeleton in the middle. I believe this is her as a child, and to me it looks just like a little girl. Same here. There's a very kind of down-key female energy in the eyes and the whole kind of face, the demeanor. Now again, it looks like when she was pregnant, as mentioned, it does look like there was a little extra, does look like she gained a little extra fat here and there. She's got very female leg shape, with the gradual curve coming down to the ankle. Also the knees look female. Again, the female Q angle. Can follow the curve here and along here. Female Q angle for sure. The arms are short, the angle out around here where we've got the female waist indentation, the arms angled to accommodate the wider hips beneath that point. And if you follow the actual joint in the shoulder down to the widest point in the hips, you can see it's equal. And she does look like she has Scandinavian ancestry, so I've mentioned before that sometimes girls from Northern Europe and Scandinavia will have a shoulder shape that's a little more kind of square in appearance than on some females from other regions of the world, like their ancestry. But the thing is, she doesn't have really strong jutting bones or anything, and again, she's I think around 5'7", so taller women typically do have broader frames. That includes the shoulders and the hips. A typical male will be able to fit 3 skull sizes on his shoulders, but a typical male is also taller than a typical female, so if you have females who are taller than the average, then you can expect the shoulders to be a little wider than you'd find on a shorter girl. It's just common sense. She has a strong facial structure, but overall the face shape is oval. Not a huge gap between the nose and the mouth. Fairly close together eyes. You know, the energy in the eyes is definitely female too. There's really not too much going on in the neck either. You can tell there's a proper arch in the spine. She's got pelvic tilt alright. That is female energy if I ever saw it. A small ear, delicate features, softness in the face. When she doesn't have her eyebrows drawn on very dark and the really extreme makeup, you can really sense a more kind of femininity, gentle look to her appearance. A natural slope. She really does have quite a female energy when she's with children too. Definite female energy. I'm not sure if this is also when she was pregnant. It does look like there's some extra weight around the middle of the thighs too, compared to her usual size. The feet look quite small, breathing in deeply, and seems to have undergone some kind of physical strain, so yes, the trachea will stand out more at that point. People seem to think that females are incapable of having anything ever stand out, which is just not true. So, you know, pay attention to the surroundings in the photo as well. What is this person doing? What have they been doing? But anyway, you can tell there's a lot of width in the hips. And also, you can tell she's got a very short humerus bone. Again, short arms. Can see the spinal arch once again. It does look like there's some extra weight in here, so. And here as well, I think this was another shot when she was pregnant. With the placement of his hands and then the shape of her spine around that, you can tell she's definitely got a female spinal arch. Males just don't have this shape to their spine. Again, the widest point of the hips is at or below the crotch on females, but don't mistake that for saying that that's the only part that needs to be wide, because on females, they should have a rounder shape higher up as well, and she does have that, so she's got the proper female Q angle that begins at that low point, and she's also got wider hips higher up. Again, female spinal arch. She's not doing anything to try and cause this. She's not jutting out her behind. She's not leaning the upper half of her back backward. Just standing naturally. And when a female has an arch, when she's standing naturally, not trying to create one, it's because she's a real female. Whether it's in acting or in real life or whatever, there's just a natural kind of demeanor that men and women have around children that's different. And with women, it's more like this, that nurturing, soft female energy that she definitely exhibits. Okay, so here's something else that I need to point out to people, because sometimes people will say someone's arms are just straight and hanging from the shoulders, but if you look here, her hands are in front of her legs, so the width of her actual hips comes out wider than where she's holding her hands here. So what this means is that the shoulders are slouched a little bit forward, and the arms are hanging slightly in front of the legs. So if you rotate your shoulders back as a girl, and stand with proper posture, then that's when you're going to see the arms sort of at the elbow angling outward at the hips to accommodate them. But if someone's just standing kind of relaxed and casually, then it's fully possible for the arms to look like this. But the thing is, on a real male, you wouldn't have his hips out so wide at the same time. So as always, her shoulder joints do match up to the widest point in her hips and pelvis down here, and there's definitely enough space all around here to be carrying a baby in terms of the bones. So in a lot of MTFs, you'll just have a fullness only too low, and they don't have anything up here because they have a narrow male pelvis. But with her, you can tell her pelvis is actually wide and female. You can tell her waist is high, as it should be on a female. She's definitely got that female Q angle, starts at a low point, as it should on a female. You can just tell the huge difference in curving legs compared to straight legs of a male. And even though she's got more square shoulders than some girls, at the same time they're not quite as square as on this person. So now if you compare this face to the faces where there's really done up makeup in her later periods of time when she's possibly had some work done around the eyes and Botox in the forehead and such, if you compare this look, this is a very natural, soft female look. And so this is another thing, is when natural females in the media are trying to compete with MTFs, they have the same sort of procedures done and try and kind of masculinize their faces a bit more. And they end up looking more like the MTFs because of the work they've had done to their faces. This is absolutely soft female energy, and this is a face that is fully in alignment with a Caucasian female face that, possibly some Scandinavian or German ancestry, so she's got a bit more of a brow ridge than some girls, kind of stronger jaw and everything. But at the same time, this is not a male face. These are definitely female traits. The spacing between the nose and the mouth, size of the dental arch, everything, this is a female face. And as I've said before, this pose does not mean that someone is necessarily transgendered. It means that they are, whether they're aware of the deception or they're just being used as an unwitting puppet in the deception, they're being instructed to do this pose by photographers, by agents, by studios, whatever. This is a symbol and a way that they speak by not speaking to the public. But it doesn't mean that every subject who does this is inverted. The only thing we can use to tell if a subject is inverted is their own body, their skeleton. And look here, there's a high female spinal arch, and this is just much more of a curve than you see on MTFs. This is definitely a female body. And here you can again see that high point. The ribs naturally end here at the waist, the spine arches right there at the waist at a high point above the navel, the pelvis tilts backward. Not every female has the same figure, has the same body, but these are primary female skeletal traits: the arch to the spine, the female Q angle, the shoulder to width ratio being about equal. And on this person, this one is slouching forward, so it hunches the back. But if you actually look at the back itself, it's perfectly straight all the way down until where we've got a very male-looking posterior, and there's no spinal tilt on this person. So compare this person's body to this one. You have a lot of skeletal curving going on in this person, not on this one. And on a side note, this one also looks female with the proper fullness to the hips to indicate a wide pelvis, as well as the fullness down low, as there should be on a girl. Definitely female figure on the left and on the right and not in the middle. And again here, you can see that she often has her arms kind of hang with the hands just a little bit in front of the legs, so the shoulders are a little bit slouched forward and not rotated fully back, which is when you have the arm angle out. So it looks like she's actually curving her arm back inward a little bit. And I've seen some FTMs do this trick too, so their arms look less female in the way they hang. But actually, if you look at where the arms are coming out from the shoulders, they do angle out just a little bit anyway. So there's space for her wide female hips in the middle. If you put her between two biological males who definitely have wider shoulders than their narrow pelvises, both of them, and then you compare that to hers where they're equal, if we focus on those primary traits that are about childbearing and childbirth, and also notice that even though she's got a strong facial structure for a girl, it's considerably less pronounced than on either of the males on either side, with, they have a proper brow ridge that's actually shadowing the eyes on this person. They have longer gaps between the nose and the mouth, they have wider mouths, they have stronger jaws, they have gaunter faces, the forehead is longer on both of them. Like, their faces are just longer overall. They have wider necks, they have more pronounced tracheas. It's just, when you look at people next to each other, you can notice their legs are totally straight, and her legs have curve to them. So in this pose she's doing, she's pushing her hips fully out to this side, but still here you can see, and the dress is a little bit loose, but here you can see that there's still curve going on both sides. So this is definitely a female body with proper female curves, compared to two males who don't have female curves. And here you can again see that spinal arch, the female spinal arch. It's just moving naturally, and you can see it. You can see that there's a tilt to the pelvis. It's the same as on this other blonde girl. There's a high arch in the back and a female pelvic tilt. Their legs look female, their arms look female, they're female. But the one in the middle, Phoebe Tonkin, totally straight back all the way down, no pelvic tilt. Compare those spines. It's a male spine in the middle and two female spines surrounding. So with this energy and with all of those traits, it's definitely a female. Claire Holt is a girl, and has always been a girl, and will always be a girl. Now, looking at the Vampire Diaries has actually been interesting to me because I heard that they did this casting because they were so confident the show would be popular, because it was right after that whole, I'm sure people will remember the Twilight thing, how insanely popular that was, and because this was a show about a girl falling in love with a vampire, they were sure it would have a great following, so they were allowed to cast kind of whoever they wanted. And so I heard they had quite intensive auditions, and I'd heard so many people say that this show had such a good-looking cast, and they loved the cast, and they were perfect and everything. And it's interesting to me that there actually seemed to be quite a large number of biological males and females in the cast, and I think that's because they were allowed to cast other people, that it wasn't about who's more famous, about who's got connections, per se. There are still the transgenders in the cast, definitely, but there also seem to be a fair number of biological males and females. I'm actually more surprised by the females, because I've seen biological males more frequently in the media, in different positions. There are still plenty of FTMs, don't get me wrong, but there are also biological males, and there are some biological females, but it's just surprising to me that there are actually quite a few biological females in the Vampire Diaries, and to me that makes them interesting to look at and study, because it can tell us, it gives us case studies, like, oh, this one's from this region of the world, let's look at her traits and see how we can use this example to analyze similar people. So I hope that the people kind of see it the same way, and that it's helpful to people. In any case, thank you for watching, and that's that.